What's up guys, Coach Chris here, Impact Performance, and today I wanted to talk about the acronym HALT. So if you've ever had issues with mindless eating or feeling like you're snacking too much, then this video is for you. All right, one of the biggest problems that we realize is that when it comes to getting the body composition that you're trying to achieve, whether that's gaining more muscle, losing some body fat, getting to the optimized health or being the healthiest, strongest version of yourself, right? There is a nutritional component, and there's a training component, and there's a discipline component, right? And they all go tied in together. And if you're not able to follow up the nutritional side of things, well, you're not going to reach your goals, and all the hard work that you're putting in is going to be going to waste. So today I want to help focus in and understand so that you can get a grip on the food element and the food part of it. And part of the food is our emotions around food, our thoughts around food, and making sure that our behaviors support our goals and that our behaviors aren't driving us away from our goals, right? So the acronym HALT. Most people realize that when people were mindlessly eating or stress, or I don't want to say stress because that's part of this, right? So mindless eating or snacking, we looked at a couple different things. Number one, snacking. People say, well, Chris, what do I do when it comes to snack? Well, if you're eating the right amount of calories throughout the day and splitting them up throughout your meals, typically you're not going to feel like a good, how do I want to say this? A person who is in good, optimal health and their nutrition is on point typically doesn't need a snack, right? Because they don't have a hunger in between their next meal, right? And a lot of that has to do with when they eat and then the next meal. So sometimes we see when we sit down with someone for a nutrition appointment and we'll be like, hey, walk me through your day, and we'll do like an audit. We'll see that maybe they skip breakfast and they don't eat until 12, and then they don't eat for a few hours, and then they don't eat until nighttime. So they're eating 2 meals a day, and they can't seem to understand why they can't lose weight. And we look at it and it's like, well, you're eating close to 3,000 calories a day. They're just at 2 different meals, and then you have a bunch of snacks in between, right? So because of that habit, they also are having issues with hormones that are stopping them from being able to reach their goals. So part of reaching our goals is recalibrating our hormones and making sure that they're in a healthy place, and we do that by having meals throughout the day. So 3 meals throughout the day is usually what we take, or 4 if a person can't eat the right amount of food that they're supposed to eat. Sometimes we break it into 4 meals, but if you space those out throughout the day, then you're always going to be satisfied. You're not going to have your blood sugar up and down because you're stabilizing your blood sugar by eating frequently, right, and not having big gaps. All right, so part of the problems that we're able to address is that you stabilize your hunger if you eat meals throughout the day, so you don't need to snack. All right, so that's part one. Part two is more about the emotional side of eating, right? Right. A lot of times when we're not getting enough sleep, or if we're overworking ourselves, or if we're overthinking things, right? This can drive our behaviors into a negative way. All of a sudden, if you're not getting enough sleep, you ever find that you just end up staying up later, right? And then maybe you find that throughout the day you're not as efficient at doing stuff, so it takes you longer to get things done, right? So yeah, these things happen, right? So if we're tired, right? If we're tired, well, we're going to make poor decisions, right? We're not going to make the right food choices, right? So we got to get to bed. We got to get to bed and make sure that, number one, we're getting enough rest, because if we get enough rest, we get enough recovery from our workouts, and we're making sure that, for females, our estrogen levels are stabilized. For guys, our testosterone levels are stabilized, right? So the sleep and the rest has a lot to do with it. We find that when people are getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep, they typically are able to adhere to their nutrition plan better than people that are doing 5 to 6 hours, right? And they say that people that are doing 5 hours of sleep, scientifically, their brain and their ability to make decisions is close to one who is impaired by alcohol, right? So get that again. If you're not getting enough sleep, it's almost like you're going throughout your day as if you were drinking, right? So it's hard to make this. I know, I'll raise both of my hands. I know I eat terrible when I'm drunk, right? That's why I don't drink that much, because I know that that's one bad choice leads to a bunch of other bad choices, right? So that's me understanding myself. So I'm sure you guys understand yourself as well, and you guys know how to keep yourself on track, right? So tired is the end of HALT, right? Hunger at the beginning. So we worked on the 2 outsides, right? Hunger, how to stabilize our hunger, which is eating throughout the day solid meals, right? We'll talk about how to build a perfect meal in other videos, right? We've talked about why being tired, right? You can't be tired. But what about angry and lonely, right? So what I find here is that, these are those interpersonal things. And sometimes when we work with people, we understand that, hey, this isn't a nutritional thing, this is like an emotional thing. They're going through a time in their life, and it's really hard for them right now, and like food is kind of being that comfort, right? So if you ever find yourself in that situation, number one, I always say, get the help that you need, right? Don't be afraid to talk to someone, right? Like therapy, it's a life changer. It helped my life, right? I know I'm a big proponent. My mom's in mental health, but sometimes we got to get our mental health in check because we don't realize that like some of the things that we may not be dealing with may be causing us to not be reaching our goals, right? And that's where I find that a lot of people in this zone kind of really fall into it. Like if you're angry or if you're lonely and you find that you're like now eating because of those emotions, well, if you want to get to this goal, the only way we're going to be able to get there is if we address the things that are making us angry or lonely, right? We got to make sure that we address those so that we can get through those. And that is when I like the acronym FEAR, right? Face everything and run, or face everything and rise, right? We have those two choices, right? So we understand now HALT. We understand that if our hunger, right, if we're just hungry and we got like unsatiable hunger, it's because we're not eating the right foods, and we need to eat less processed foods, and we need to eat more whole, minimally processed foods, right? Sweet potatoes, rice, chicken, like stop eating, maybe less sausage or chicken sausage, more chicken breast, right? That's why I always tell people that like when we think of processed food, everyone goes, well, what's processed food? Like, just think about it like this, like, chicken nuggets versus chicken sausage versus chicken tenderloins versus chicken breast, right? We just went in order from worst to best, right? I always say, hey, like, are blueberries healthy? Yes. Strawberries healthy? Yes. Cookies healthy? No. Yeah, right? We understand, guys. We know how to eat. Sometimes it's about doing what you know, right? But I think that a lot of times HALT is one of those things that, like the acronym HALT, is one of those things that is like subconsciously working against us underneath of the surface. So it's important to understand where we're at and which one of those things are holding us back. If it's that you're eating and you're tired, you're not making the right and the best decisions, well, hey, we got to look at our life and we got to set some new disciplines in, right? We got to set some boundaries. What time do we go to bed? What time are we waking up? We have to put that, like we have to do that as ourselves, right? And make that change, right? Make that change in our life, right? If you're hungry because you're not eating the right foods or you're not eating throughout the day, right? If you're not taking that time to prioritize what you're putting into your body, well, you got to check yourself on that, right? We know what's healthy. We know if we eat unhealthy, our lives are not going to be good in the future. So you have to make that investment now in your health in the future. What we do in this decade will determine how we live in the next decade. Right? So some of us, if we're on a track record, we might need to address that a lot sooner, right? That's why we do the nutrition, guys. It's not about like looking a certain way. It's about health. It's about making sure that you're here, that you feel good about yourself, right? And that your body feels good, right? And that you're not going to the doctors and on a bunch of medicine, right? The goal is health, right? And then those other ones, guys, if you're suffering, right? If you're dealing with some anger, if you're dealing with some loneliness, right, or some emotional things, like, hey, number one, coaches are always here to help guide you, give you guys some motivation, keep you guys inspired, but definitely don't be afraid to look out, get some help, talk to people, and figure out how to work through those things, because once you get through those things, you'll be able to hit your goals, and you won't have anything dragging you back, and it'll just be success, and as Coach Miles likes to say, it's only up from here. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. I hope it helps. Give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment if you resonated with anyone, and if you want to share about any of your experiences, guys, we are here, and I love you guys, and I hope that you found a lot of value in this, because this is always one of my favorite acronyms to go back to.